Everyone wants to become a millionaire. Now, what does it take to be able to make that happen? It's a good question. Now, some people choose the venue of going through investing into a franchise to be able to achieve the goal of becoming a millionaire. And the reality is that it's really interesting what it takes to actually accomplish that goal as a franchise business owner, or really as a small business owner in general. The principles of small business management and profitability is the same whether you are in a franchise industry or in an independent business. So today I'm going to share with you what it actually takes to become a millionaire through franchising or investing in a franchise. However, before we get started, I have to do something that my marketing manager continually tells me all the time. Says, Aisha, why don't you invite people to subscribe to your platforms? And I'm like, okay. So before I get started, I want to officially invite all of you that are watching this video and following me on our social media to go ahead and subscribe to whatever platform you're watching this podcast on. So whether you are on our YouTube channel or maybe you are listening to the podcast on iTunes or Apple, go ahead and subscribe to our platforms so that you do not miss our shows every week. So with that, let's go ahead and get started as to how you become a millionaire through franchising. First of all, I mentioned that the business principles of, being able to become profitable or a millionaire through franchising is similar to small businesses and independent businesses. It is completely different from other types of businesses. So for example, I don't know what it takes to make ExxonMobil, for example, profitable. I have no idea. It's a commodity-based product. It is way too big for, my imagination. I'm sure the level of complexity is enormous. So obviously it's not the same as be able to become profitable in franchising. Also, I don't know what it takes to become profitable in businesses like SpaceX. Elon Musk has this company that requires an enormous amount of investment on innovation and testing that is an upfront investment. I'm still not understanding exactly how that company makes money. So that's not what franchising is about, and that's not how you become a millionaire in franchising. The reality is that what I am really an expert on is small business management, and franchising is in that bucket, and especially multi-unit, because for you to become a millionaire in small businesses, you really have to go into the multiple unit enterprise way, because a single unit is really going to be a job. Something that we always say, one unit is a job, multi-unit is an enterprise. And so if you just have a job, you're not going to become a millionaire through a job. But if you invest in a business that then can scale into multiple units, now we're talking about the possibilities. And now it's just a matter of finding out what it takes. This business principle is pretty simple. First of all, you have money coming in as sales, which is your revenue. And then you have money going out as expenses or costs. And then you have money left over, which is your profit. The question is, how much profit do you have left every month and every year to see what it takes to become a millionaire? How do you make 1 million will depend on what business you're talking about. What is the model? Because you can do it in many different ways. So for example, if you're talking about, if you want to become a millionaire on how many sales you have or revenue, well, all you need to do is have 2 franchise units that make $500,000 each in revenue or sales. And now you are officially a $1 million revenue business. Now, revenue or sales does not equal profit. So I assume that whenever you say you want to become a millionaire, you're not talking about that you want to make $1 million in sales, but that you want to make $1 million in profit. And that's a different conversation, right? So to make $1 million in profit, we need to first understand how much profit can you get out of a business? Because depending on whether you have debt or not is very different. So let's say that you have a business that has no debt, like you did not get a loan from anywhere that you're paying principals or interest rate on. If you're not doing that, then for you to get to $1 million, the average business, if properly managed, is doing about 10% of sales. So if you have a business that is making $500,000 a year in revenue, very important that I clarify, 10% is $50,000 profit. So that's an example. Now, if you have a loan on average, and I'm just giving you you a lot of averages because the ranges are enormous, right? You can even be losing money if you're not managing the business properly, or you invested in not a very good brand. But in averages, if you do not have a loan or debt, then usually take home is about 10%. If you do have debt, your take home money, your profit is going to be about 5%. And again, these are general numbers, but I'm just rounding it up just to make it easy for this conversation. But it's about right. If you want to become a millionaire, let's be conservative and let's say that you do have a debt, because how many people actually have hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million sitting around to invest in a business, right? Most likely, if you want to become a millionaire, means you're not a millionaire yet. Therefore, you're going to need to get a loan to be able to invest in the business. So assuming that you have a loan, we're going to go to the 5% rule. So if you have one unit that makes $500,000 a year, 5% of that is $25,000. And so that means that for you to become a millionaire or to make $1 million in a year, you literally need 40 of those units to be able to get to $1 million a year. So imagine if you get 40 subways. They can easily do a $500,000 a year. You got a loan, so you have about net profit of 5%. That means that with 40 units, you get every year $1 million of net profit. You see how that math works? It's important that you understand that so you will know what it takes to become a millionaire. If you happen to have a unit, a franchise unit, that instead of making $500,000 in revenue or sales per year, they're doing $1 million of sales a year. So let's say that you have instead a unit that is making $1 million in sales per year, and you have a loan, so you get 5% out of that. So that's $50,000 of net profit per unit. To be able to make $1 million in a year, you now need 20 units. That's half as many because those units are making twice as much revenue. If you have 20 units making $1 million in sales a year, and you are actually making a 5% net profit, and then you're making $1 million every year. The great thing about it is that you make $1 million this year, you make another $1 million next year, another $1 million a year after that, and that's amazing because now you are a multi-millionaire. But it takes for you to grow into 20 units. As you can see, if you really want to have financial freedom, not a job, but true financial freedom, you must become a multi-unit franchisee. That's just the way the math works. Now, if you want to think about it aggressive and you have no debt, then obviously the number of units you need is much lower, because now you will have, instead of a 5% net profit, you now have a 10% net profit. So if you have units or a brand that makes an average of $500,000 a year in sales per unit, then now you only need 20 units with a 10% net profit to get to $1 million. And if you have instead a franchise brand that makes $1 million in sales, let's say Dairy Queens, they easily make $1 million a year in sales, and you have 10% net profit because you had no debt. Just understand that how much it costs you to build a Subway, let's say 3, 4, 500,000 versus building a Dairy Queen, which is 8, 9, $1.5 million. Obviously the investment is different. But if you were to have 10 Dairy Queens that make $1 million a year in revenue, and you have 10% profitability, that's $1 million. So you only need 10 Dairy Queens to get to $1 million, but you need a whole lot of initial upfront investment to be able to get there. So easy peasy, this is just math. 1 + 1 is 2, and it's really easy to calculate. This is not what's difficult. It's easy to figure out how many or how much or what it takes for you to get to there. What it is difficult is to be able to cause this profitability in practicality in all of these units, because no matter what brand you have, no matter whether it's a startup, a mature, or a legacy brand, meaning one that's been around for 5, 50, 60 years, really how you manage that business is going to make the difference, and it's going to decide whether you can achieve that average 10%, 5% profitability if you have a loan in the business. There are mature and legacy brands that fail. And should I say there are franchisees that invest in legacy brands that fail. Why? Because they do not know how to cause the revenue as well as the cost control so that they can achieve the profitability. And here is where it's going to be the challenge for any business owner. It's not just about buying the right brand, but about being the right leader that is properly trained and have the business acumen to be able to produce the average results. This 10% profitability, if you have no debt, or 5% net profit or take home money, assumes that you understand all the numbers I just spoke about. As I mentioned all those numbers and threw them all out there, if you were confused and overwhelmed and not really clear, well, obviously then that's going to be a challenge for you. It also assumes that you know how to access the capital, where to get loans to be able to invest in opening these units or acquiring them if it's something that's already open. So you need to know and have the ability to do that. It also assumes that you have and understand how to manage and lead a team and an organization of multiple units in several distances. You need to be able to know how to do that practically to be able to, again, achieve that 5 or 10% profitability. It also assumes that you have the systems and processes and procedures and policies, and you understand what they need to be and what they are, and you have defined them, and what are those policies that would allow the team to then be able to duplicate these results consistently every week, every month, and every year. If you don't have those systems, those managerial and leadership systems, you're not going to achieve that average result. It is not just about the brand. The brand brings you the revenue, but your ability and your team's ability to turn that into profit is going to be crucial to get to that 5 or 10%. These numbers assume that you know how to do that and how to cause that, right? It also assumes that you have skilled and properly trained leaders. So not just knowing how to do it, but then having the right people in place doing it every day and doing a great job at it. That will definitely determine whether you can achieve that 5 or 10% profitability out of the business. So the good news is that if all that I said is something that you do not have, the great news is that it is learnable. Now, the franchisor is not going to give you that information because what they're giving you is a proven brand, a product, the service, the image, regional, national marketing, and all the procedures on how to duplicate that. These other things that we talked about, the managerial and leadership things, that's going to have to be on you. But it is learnable. So all you need to do is find a way to learn this information, to learn how to do these things, to identify what it is and how to do it. And then as you do that, implement it in your business. If you do that, you're going to be successful and you're going to be able to achieve those average results. And who knows, maybe even more. Now, I have to tell you that I have met many people in my 35 plus career that have invested in franchising and thought that all they need to do is buy a great brand and they will be good to go and achieve all these millionaire goals, right? But if you don't really truly have the skills and the knowledge, it can really backfire on you. I know one particular high level corporate executive from a big global brand left their top, executive CEO role and went into franchising back home, and they were managing the business as they were managing their CEO position. And what that caused is that they created investments into areas that were not the ones that were producing the profitability in the business. And so no matter how amazing a CEO of this huge global company he was not able to succeed as a franchisee of small business management and multi-unit locations because he did not have those skills. And for that reason, he failed completely and lost everything that he had invested in that franchise, and all of the units were closed. So make sure that you are achieving or accomplishing or receiving the knowledge, the tools, and the resources that you need to be able to successfully implement all of these systems and processes that you need in your organization to cause that 5 to 10% profitability. By the way, that knowledge, those skills, that business acumen is the reason why operators are so valuable. There are a lot of private equity firms looking for operators with whom they can partner because they have all the cash, but all the cash in the world does not do you any good if you don't have someone that can operate the business profitably and successfully. And so this is why you as a business owner, not only do you need to know how to get the cash, but you also need to know how to operate the business properly. And this is what jumbo franchisees or large multi-unit enterprise organizations, their leaders, how much, they're successful because they have been able to accomplish those two sides of the business. So I'm going to stop there for a second and say, what do you think? What other things do you think that are required for someone to become a millionaire? I know that the people that follow us here at our platforms and our show, our podcast, are people with experience. So what else do you think it requires for you to be able to become a millionaire using the franchise industry? So think about that and please share in the comments. I would love to hear from you and have this be more of an interactive thing, because sometimes I feel like like I'm here, just doing speeches, and I really would like it to be interactive with you guys. So I'm going to close by saying this. If this conversation had made you think that, there might be some things, some areas that you may need to learn and acquire information and knowledge on so that you can achieve that millionaire goal using your franchise and growing into a multi-unit organization, which, by the way, is possible for anyone that wants it, as long as you get the right knowledge. There's many ways you can get that knowledge. You can get it, through mentors. You can get it from fellow franchise owners that can give you ideas and best practices. And there are programs online and educationals that can help you with that. I will like to share that the American Franchise Academy is one of those resources. And actually, we've 100% focused in helping franchisees implement all those processes and systems and procedures and policies in their organization so that they can create the systems that the team members can do and operate and implement day in and day out to achieve maximum profitability of the organization and not have to do it all themselves. So if you'd like to explore a little bit of that, all you need to do is visit us at americanfranchiseacademy.com, learn about our programs. We have 3 of them. One of them is for multi-unit franchisees. One of them is for district managers that oversee multiple units on behalf of the franchisees. And our most recently launched program for unit managers, so that we can give your unit managers the leadership and management skills that they need to run your units profitably. All right. So thanks for being with me in this show, and we'll see you in the next one.